Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Cowboy Nation? This is Cowboys Broad. Sometimes I get people who question to know what's going on here abroad. What's going on here abroad with the COVID situation? What are we doing? Are we okay? Are we safe? What are our responses? That type of thing. People want to know. So I'm here to give you kind of an update as to what's going on here overseas. Me personally, I live on an island that's part of the country of Japan on the southern tip called Okinawa. Now down here, I think I first should let you know um, that we got to define here and what country, and the reason that's important is because down here um, in Okinawa, the U.S. military has a heavy presence here in Okinawa, in the island of Okinawa, Japan. Um, Now there are several military bases here, and so that brings considerable amount of Americans, and the American bases are understandably so U.S. territory, U.S. soil, and just like being in America. Now, why am I saying this? Well, that's important to understand when I tell you about the response because um, it appears, at least in my mind, that the Japanese response and the American response are not necessarily simultaneous or the same. So um, uh, that's why I bring it up. And I say this. As it stands right now, the military, it stands right now, um, that's a tale of two countries. We seem to be a little bit divided on how to deal with the coronavirus or COVID outbreak. In the Japanese community, very early on, the latter part of February, first part of March, a lot of things were shut down. Businesses were shut down, and schools were shut down, and that type of thing. And now the Japanese people are getting ready to go back to are getting ready to go back to school. Um, several key businesses have opened back up, and it looks like you know Japanese community appear to be moving on, at least down here in Okinawa. That doesn't mean that that's the case up in the mainland, the primary land of Japan. Up there, they have a serious situation up there. I mean, they're taking appropriate measures, and there are several tourist locations, and they're restricted, and there are some restrictions in place. Um, but about the restrictions, like what they're doing in um, America and what they're doing with the U.S., we have a lot of we have a lot of restrictions. A restriction to movement, quarantines, can't go to bars, can't go to bars, can't go to restaurants. No more no more than 10 people in locations. The social distancing with the 6 feet and the whole nine. Well, I say all that to say there are laws in the Japanese in on the Japanese law that basically says the Japanese government can't force their people to quarantine. So it's more or less we ask you, but we can't force you to quarantine because under the Japanese law, um, very different than the military and the U.S. personnel are here. because we are being forced to um, quarantine, quarantine, do 14 days. In some cases, people are teleworking, people are maintaining their social distances. We're being given orders in which are not optional. We must follow, or we risk um, being removed, being removed from the country of Japan. So the military at this time is taking it very seriously, but it's very different because timetable than the Japanese, because we started this effort about uh, about about 10 days ago now. I would say a week or two. About 10 days ago now, we started a very serious concerted effort um, to really make some change, to really make some changes. And last week, we had some elevated changes, and we are following the guidance and directions in which we're getting, and the recommendations that we're getting from CDC and the World Health Organization and all of those things. I mean, and we're fine. Currently, as it stands, um, my particular office, we are half half staff, in-person staff, half teleworking staff. So we've broken down to where half our staff teleworks, um, teleworks for a week, and then the other half will telework the following week and work it down to limit the amount of people that we have in the office. That's just one example of measures that we're taking. But we all right. We're all right. We're doing fine. Um, and I would say, we're doing fine. Um, is the coronavirus on location? Yes, it is. Do we have a lot of, do we have many cases? No, we don't. Can I disclose how many cases we have? We've been put on, we've been put on orders. We've been told we cannot disclose how many locations that we have. Um, as a um, as a person working for the U.S. government and a military entity, I cannot disclose anymore how many locations, how many cases we have. We've received guidance from the Pentagon that we can no longer do that. So I can't tell you how many cases we have. I can just tell you that we have a few cases, and we're doing fine. We're dealing with it, taking appropriate measures to make sure that everybody's safe. Okay, Cowboys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for checking me out. I'm out.